So, Michael, thank you for that great introduction. My name is Nathen Harvey. As he mentioned, I am the VP of Community Development at Chef. And what I want to talk to you today about is DevOps Days. I think that these conferences are very special. And I want to talk a little bit about the history of DevOps Days, why they have the format that they do, and what you can expect over the next 2 days. And actually, I'm going to give you jobs. I want to make sure that you get the most out of this conference, so I want to share some tips for how to do that. So first, I don't know if you know this, but this is, right now, the 95th DevOps Days that's ever happened. That's pretty incredible. So there have been 95 DevOps Days that have happened around the world. The first one happened in Ghent, Belgium. And that was back in 2000 and, I don't know, it's in my notes somewhere. 2009, I think, is when that happened, because, yeah, 7 years in, so that's right, 2009. That little graph on the bottom right, that shows the number of DevOps days per year going up, which is pretty incredible. There was 1 year where it dipped down, you can see in that graph. Maybe you can't because the graph is really small. But 1 year it dipped down. The reason it dipped down was because Hurricane Sandy hit New York, and the conference that was in November had to get moved to January. So that's the only reason that we had a year that went down. But the cool thing about these DevOps days is that they're all locally organized by a group of volunteers. But before we talk more about DevOps days, I want to talk about DevOps itself. You can't have a DevOps days without reflecting on the history of DevOps. How did DevOps get started? What is DevOps? So DevOps actually started in an open space. So it was at an Agile conference, and somebody put a Post-it up on the board and said, I want to talk about Agile infrastructure. And one person showed up to that open space. Well, two people, the person that put the Post-it up and another person. And that was Patrick Dubois and Andrew Clay Schaefer. And so they started talking about Agile infrastructure. What does it mean for us to be able to move faster? How can we treat our infrastructure the same way that our Agile cohorts in development land are managing the applications that they're building? So it started with Agile Agile infrastructure. And then there was this presentation at Velocity, again in 2009, called 10 deploys per day. And this was from John Allspaw and Paul Hammond at Flickr. How many of you will deploy 10 times today? 10 times this week? You can keep your hands up. I should have made you stand back up this week, okay? This month? This year? Okay, that's better. This decade. Can we get to at least everyone, at least 10 times this decade, I hope. So it really, we were talking about moving faster. And frankly, when they came out and said 10 deploys per day, it was mind-blowing. Everyone was frightened. Maybe some of you are still frightened. Maybe that still gives you a little shiver, makes you feel nervous. But they had this slide in their presentation, Dev and Ops, and they put them in a heart, and they talked about how there was technology behind DevOps. But in addition to technology, there was also people. There was culture. So they talked about things like respect and trust. So DevOps, it's not just a tool. And then later in the history of DevOps, a good friend of mine, John Willis, wrote a blog post that helped to define what DevOps is. And he used this acronym CAMS for culture, automation, measurement, and sharing. That's what DevOps meant to him. And so he wrote about the culture. The culture of DevOps is what you see here today. We have people that are here. All of you are willing to share with one another your stories, the things that are great, the things that are difficult, the things that you're doing to make your organizations better. We have automation with tools like Chef and Puppet and Ansible and Cloud Foundry. There are so many different tools that help you automate your infrastructure, automate your applications. Oftentimes, when people think of DevOps, they stop at that automation layer. They think automation and DevOps, these are the same thing. And one of the things that they'll do is they'll go and hire DevOps engineers, right? And a DevOps engineer, if we're talking about getting dev and ops working together, what is the role of a DevOps engineer? Automation. Automation is where it's at. That's what the DevOps engineer will do. They'll focus on the automation tools. We talk about measurement. So we have to look at how are our systems performing. And when I say systems, I don't just mean the computers. I mean, how is our workflow performing? How quickly are we moving things through our system? How well are we communicating with one another? Are we delivering business value? And then sharing. Sharing is what we're doing here. That's what we do here at DevOps Days. It's what we do in our organizations when dev and ops share information with one another. And then it all started with this idea, and this is taken from Damon Edwards. He wrote a blog post about DevOps, and it was about the wall of confusion. Dev's job is to build stuff. Operations' job is to take that stuff and put it into production. And in between them was this wall of confusion. And it's really bad. When you think about it, one of the things that this sets up, we set up really perverse incentives for each side of this wall. We tell our developers, your job is to build new features. We tell operations, your job is to keep things up and static and running, keep them safe. And so we tell operations, essentially, don't accept change from development. Tell them, no, I don't want to change my systems. I know that they're going to stay up if I leave them alone. But of course, this is a terrible idea for our business. We can't move forward our business. We can't move that forward. We can't help our customers. So we need to tear that wall down, and that's where DevOps started. I'd like to give you my definition of DevOps. So this is a definition that we use at Chef. We actually have an open source presentation, an open source philosophy around DevOps. It's called Chef-Style DevOps Kung Fu. You can join this school of DevOps by submitting a pull request to the GitHub repo, add your name to the README. But this is how we define DevOps. It's a cultural and professional movement focused on how we build and operate high-velocity organizations that is born from the experiences of its practitioners. So if I take a minute and break that down, it's a cultural and professional movement. Hip-hop is a cultural and professional movement. Barbecue is a cultural and professional movement, right? DevOps is not a tool. You cannot go out in the world and buy DevOps. I have a bad little secret to tell you, though. There are many people out there in that evil world that will try to sell you DevOps. I have here 42 units of DevOps. Would you like to buy some? They're a really good price. You cannot buy DevOps. It's focused on how we build and operate high-velocity organizations. This makes sense. We talk about dev and ops. How do we build? How do we operate? This is dev and ops, right? But frankly, we're talking about high-velocity organizations. DevOps is a terrible word to describe that because you think about dev and ops. You can't do a high-velocity organization. You can't build and operate a high-velocity organization by looking at 2 departments within your organization. Raise your hand if your company has more than 2 departments. All right. The rest of you are maybe at really tiny startups, and we all just do everything. That's cool. So we have to look beyond dev and ops to build this high-velocity organization. Think about you're moving from a data center into a cloud. One of the things that you have to talk about is how do I budget for that? How does that change? The budgeting completely changes. So we have to bring finance into DevOps. You talk about being able to create teams where I can work on your team for a sprint or for a couple of weeks. We'll work on a project together, and then I'm going to go back over to this team. HR policies have to support that. How do we support our teams, our people moving through the organization? HR is DevOps. Every part of our organization is DevOps. And this last bit here, it's born from the experience of its practitioners. This is an important thing, and this is, frankly, this is why on the internet you'll find flame wars about what is the definition of DevOps. And the flame wars happen because the way that Facebook practices DevOps is not the way that Etsy practices DevOps. It's not the way that you will practice DevOps. We each have our own style of DevOps. We each have our own concerns when it comes to DevOps. But I do think that there are some global principles that apply to everyone that's practicing DevOps well. The first of those is that we put our people first. The people in this system are the most important part of the system. It's not the tools, it's not the products that we're building, it's not the companies that we're building. We have to have happy people in order for us to actually succeed. If we want to build great products, we can't have employees, we can't have ourselves come to work every day and hate our job. If you show up in the morning and you hate your job, you're not going to build a great product. Guaranteed. So we have to put our people first. In IT, we have a terrible, terrible track record with this. How many of you are on call right now? Okay. How many have ever been on call in your life? And of those, how many of you have been woken up at 3 a.m. and told about a thing that didn't matter, that you couldn't do anything about, and you had no context for, right? Guess what that's not? That's not putting our people first. That is not DevOps. Sure, we have to monitor everything. We do have to have alerts. But putting our people first means that we don't wake them up at 3 a.m. to tell you, hey, there's a problem that's not really a problem that you can't do anything about anyhow. Cool? How does your spouse feel about that, or your significant other? Not well. Yeah, that's how my spouse feels about it, and she's here. It's weird. Also in DevOps, we are lean. So DevOps looks to other practices, looks to other industries. Look, Agile is a great movement. There's great practices that we can learn from Agile. We bring those into our practice of DevOps. We look to lean manufacturing. We bring that into the practice of DevOps. We do things like put our work on a Kanban board. Why do we use a Kanban board? We use a Kanban board so that we can visualize the work that's moving through the system, and so that we can minimize our work in process. I want to take a full system-wide view of the work in process and make sure that work is flowing through that. Sorry, it flows this way, doesn't it? You're backwards to me. Work flows through the system. It doesn't flow this way. This way is bad. Rollbacks are a lie. Your work never goes this way. It always goes that way, right? The other thing that we do in DevOps, we're super good at this. We fail. We fail all the time. Expletive breaks. Like, it breaks everywhere, all the time. But with DevOps, the important thing that we do is that we treat this failure as an opportunity to learn. When our systems break down, when we have an outage, step 0 is not assess blame. In fact, assessing blame is thrown out of the equation altogether. When we fail, we have a blameless postmortem. We get together and we ask ourselves, what can we learn from this? And during that postmortem, the two most important questions that we have are, how could I have detected this sooner? How could I have recovered from this faster? Those are the only two things, maybe not the only two. Those are the two most important things that matter, and work that comes out of a postmortem should address those two concerns. Of course, in DevOps, we have ubiquitous workflow automation. This is, again, automation. We want the computers to do the things that computers are good at. Let them do that. Let the computers do those repetitive tasks. But there are things that the computers can't do that we as human beings are much better at. Let's give ourselves the time to do those things. And then our last principle of DevOps is that we strive for diversity. DevOps is all about inclusion. I hope that you all feel welcome here, because you truly are. I will give each and every one of you a hug if you will accept it. I am glad that you are here. And look, when we're out there building and operating high-velocity organizations, we're trying to build great products. We're trying to learn from outages. The best way for us to do that is to make sure that the people sitting at that table having that discussion have a diverse set of backgrounds. They look different from one another. They have different experiences. They bring something different to the table. If everyone at the table looks the same, has the same background, we simply won't have the best outcomes. It's impossible to do so. So we strive for diversity and inclusion within DevOps. So those are our principles of DevOps. I want to get back to DevOps Days and talk a little bit about those. So DevOps Days, again, it started back in 2009. It started in Ghent, Belgium. If you've never been to Ghent, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. There is a DevOps Days in Ghent coming up in October. Also in Ghent every year, there's a conference called Configuration Management Camp. So if configuration management is your jam, I recommend that you go to Ghent in February. Now, I know what you're saying. Ghent in February, I'm not sure I could get that approved. That sounds expensive. I have good news for you. It's a free conference. There's no charge for the tickets. You just show up. It's amazing. So that's easy to approve. Hey, boss, can I go to Ghent? It's a free conference. Michael and I did that. We got NCR to send Michael over to Ghent. It was amazing, because it was a free conference. And then he took me to Prague, which was also amazing. So DevOps Days, how does it work? So one thing that's important about DevOps Days is we have a single track. It's a conference with a single track. That means that we're all here in this room. And there aren't breakout sessions where you have to choose which speaker do I go listen to. This is important because one of the keys with DevOps Days is that you have to come to and be ready to be surprised, ready to learn something new. If the organizers work on the content and put together a great program as they've done here, you may look at that and say, well, that talk I'm not really interested in, or I don't think I'm interested in that. And if we had multiple tracks, you would have a tendency to go to the tracks of things that you already know about, things that you're interested in learning about. But by having a single track, we can put different voices on the stage. You can hear different ideas, and you might just be surprised about some of the things that you learn. The Ignite talks, as Michael mentioned, those things are a ton of fun. I organize a lot of conferences and meetups myself. I'll tell you the thing about Ignites. They're super easy to convince people to give. Because listen, it's only a 5-minute talk. How hard is that going to be? You don't even have to advance your own slides. We'll take care of that for you. And come on, anyone can do anything for 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. No, really, they can. Anyone can do anything for 5 minutes. I don't know why. I don't know what's up with my wife this morning. But of course, if you are an Ignite speaker, if you're an Ignite speaker today or tomorrow, you should stop listening to what I'm about to say. It's terrifying. No, they are a lot of fun. We have sponsor pitches, as Michael and Annie both mentioned. The sponsors are what make this happen. This is truly, it's a labor of love to pull off one of these conferences. This conference is not an O'Reilly conference. There is not a team of professional event organizers that have put this together. This was put together by developers, by operations people, and that's pretty amazing. And then the open spaces is really that is the nugget of DevOps Days. The open spaces are where you get to talk with one another, you get to share your experiences, and the best thing about it is I have no idea what the agenda is going to be, because you're going to drive that later this afternoon. DevOps Days here in Dallas. This is the first DevOps Days in Dallas. This is the 95th DevOps Days altogether. But I'll tell you what, the first DevOps Days in any city is a very special occasion. You will all have the opportunity to look back on this and say, I was there at the first DevOps Days that we did in DFW. So you should feel really privileged, and you should look around the room because this is your community. This is your community of fellow people practicing DevOps. I hope that you get to know them all over the course of the next couple of days. These are the organizers. When you see these people, give them a hug, tell them thank you, appreciate what they've done. How many of you have this name tag on this morning? Okay, I see one person. All right, what's up, JJ? He is an expert. That's awesome. Guess what? You're all experts. It might not feel like you're an expert. You might be here to learn. You might think, I'm here because I just want to consume. I don't actually have anything to give back. I don't have anything to share with this community. I look around and I see experts. How many of you, if you look around, see an expert near you? Or someone that you think of as an expert? Yeah, you should all raise, it's cool, you can raise your hand. It's cool. You don't have to tell us who you think that expert is or what they're an expert at. But here's the thing. How many of you run infrastructure, like work in operations? Yeah? How many of you write code, are developers? Guess what? The applications that you're building, the infrastructure that you're running, you are the expert in that. There may be a better Ruby developer sitting next to you and you develop in Ruby and you think, well, that person, she's an amazing Ruby developer. She's the expert, not me. But if you work at different places, she has no idea about the context of your organization, no idea about the applications that you're building. You are the expert in what your customers need and what your organization needs. So you truly are an expert, and I want you to feel that. I don't want you to feel like you don't have anything to offer. You have amazing stories to offer, and I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the next couple of days. What can you share? Share your story. A story that talks about what I learned or the stupid thing that I did. It wasn't stupid at the time, but I know it's stupid now. How many of you, actually just shout it out. What version control system do you use? Git. I hear Git. I heard Chef. Chef isn't a version control system. So, if we should talk, yeah. Anything else other than Git? TFS, all right, that's cool, that's cool. Anybody use the BAK version control system? You know that one, right? You take the file you want to modify and you copy it to filename.bak, and then you go and modify this one over here. That's the BAK version control system. How many of you have used it? I have, loud and proud, right? Right? How many of you have a file with a name that, or an extension that has .bak on a production server right now? So guess what? You can share the story of how you fell in love with version control and how version control has saved your life. How many times has a version control system saved anyone's bacon here? Yeah. And I said how many times, so I gave you each up to 5. Some of you raised like 10 fingers. Yeah. I have some jobs for you. I want to give you some to-dos. I know your to-do list is long, but I'm just going to add to it. Here are some things that I want you to do over the next 2 days. First, I want you to prepare to be surprised. We have a single track. You don't know necessarily about every topic that's going to be presented up here. Be surprised. Prepare to be surprised about some of the things that you learn. When we go into open spaces, when we have the Ignite talks, there are going to be things that maybe you didn't even think you were going to come here to learn. Be prepared to be surprised. I want you to meet at least 5 other people while you're here. That should be your goal. I don't want you to meet 5 other people that you came with. You probably knew those people before you got here. I don't want you to meet 5 other people that you work with. You should do that on work time. I want you to meet 5 other people in the community. Because guess what? We're here for 2 days. But this is a community. How many of you live within 40 miles of where we are right now? This is a local community. This is a local community. That's very special. You have amazing opportunities to meet with one another after these next 2 days. So what I want you to do over the next 2 days is meet at least 5 other people so that you can make those connections. Find someone that works somewhere else. Invite them to lunch at your office. Bring them in to meet the other people that you work with. It's a great opportunity here, and I want you to take advantage of that. And then finally, I want you to participate. When it comes to the open spaces, you may sit back and say, I have nothing to offer. I have no topic to propose. You do have something to offer. You do have something to propose. And when you go into those open space discussions, participate in those discussions. Participate, sometimes, like maybe you don't want to talk in front of people. Sometimes participation means actively listening. Sometimes participation means taking an action item, a thing that you want to try back at your office. Take that back with you. Now, everyone's to-do list is too long, and I'm sorry, I just added 3 more things to it. I want to leave you with a couple of things. So first, I want to remind you that you're responsible. Everyone in here is an adult. Raise your hand if you're not. Like, I wish I wasn't. But wishing you weren't doesn't fix it. You're responsible. You're responsible for your experience here at DevOps Days. This is your chance to have a great experience. This conference is for you and by you. And take that to heart. I want you to look around the room, look around your community, and find a mentor. Who can you go and talk to that will help you get better at the things that you want to do? And as you look for a mentor, look outside of our industry. Go talk to someone else. You may find a mentor in many different places. Wow, I think that slide auto-advanced on me. I want you to mentor someone back also and give back to the community. Lean on your peers. And then I want to remind you, and because my slide, it forces me to, that you're not alone. There are awesome people around you. Yes. I want you to get involved. Be active in this community. Step out of your echo chamber. Talk to people that don't work with you. Learn things from everyone here. Step out of that comfort zone. And I'm going to almost close with this amazing quote from my friend Jesse Robbins. Nope, I guess I'm going to close with that. Don't fight stupid, make more awesome. That's what I invite you to do. Okay, I have one little activity before we close this out. If you look in the middle of your table, you should find a stack of cards. I would like each of you at your table to grab a card. Now don't show them to me because I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to guess everyone's card. Because I'm a DevOps magician also. Okay, I asked you to meet 5 other people. I'm going to help you do that. The card in front of you, your job over the next 2 days is to make the best poker hand you can with your card. And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to go and talk to other people about what card they have. You're going to introduce yourself to them. Now, I know how it works, right? We are all technologists. The thing that I like to do at a conference when I'm not sitting and listening is this. What I don't necessarily like to do is walk up to someone that I don't know and say, hi, my name's Nathan.
John.
Hey, John, great to meet you. Look how easy that was. It was easy. John, was that uncomfortable for you? No. Did it surprise you? A little bit. All right, yeah. John's fighting something. He's on call right now. Well, he closed it down. It looks like maybe it's getting better. So I want you, over the course of the next 2 days, make the best poker hand you can. Come tell me what poker hand you've built. Do you know what the prize is? It's amazing. You make at least 4 other friends at least, because you're one of those 5. But you can make as many hands as you like. This is an easy way for you to get to meet other people while you're here. My name is Nathen Harvey. Thank you very much for letting me open up DevOps Days DFW. This is an amazing experience that we're going to have together over the next 2 days, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Thank you.